The following program does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
And welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show. I'm your host, Jay Farrow.
And I'm Janine Davis. How's everybody today?
And we're here talking about everything personal development, everything to create the life that you want, starting with the life that you have. And we're just going to take a second to shake it off here on a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock because us, like many of you, we're just stuck in a bunch of traffic out there and want everybody
really
to be
stressful.
safe. But we just want to take
Drive
a second and
everybody.
just and anybody invite anybody out there, as we did last week, to
Shake it
Shake
up,
it up,
shake
shake
it
it
up,
off.
shake it up. Change the energy, get yourself moving, shake it. And this is actually what happened to us on the way up here was a really good example of getting a grip on your mindset, right? Because an hour trip turned into an hour and a half trip. And my co-host here, who reminds me of my dad and brother, was none too happy about it. And it was one of those things where you realize, okay, life's showing up. How can we be graceful and and freak out and all of those good things?
I was thinking about that while I was very, very frustrated. And because we had a goal, right?
Yes.
We had a goal to get here by a certain time. We had a commitment to be here by a certain time. And you're halfway here and you're recognizing that might not actually happen.
Right.
And then all the stories came up for me.
Right.
I mean, what did I started to do what I normally do, and that was to beat myself up. I mean, how many times do you do that? I mean, on the way over here, I was like, well, I could have done this. And then I started to blame some of the people I was on the telephone for. We had
and me, I'm sure.
We had some, we took a longer lunch than we thought possible. I mean,
although it was fun and we get to have fun.
Right.
Every now and then we get to have fun.
We do get to have fun.
And there's traffic and things happen. And this is what, we want to talk about today. Just how life shows up and how you get to choose to deal with it, even when it knocks you on your bum.
Yeah, and I actually had a conversation in my head. It's like, well, I'm just stopping the car. I'm taking my toys and I'm going home.
Thank God that didn't happen.
But how many times do I do that? And how many
Depending
times,
on the day or the phase of the moon,
when
it happens.
things aren't working out for me in my life as I'm going forward, how many times do I use that as my excuse to stop going after going after my goal? Sure. Because hey, I'm not going to make it. It's not going to be perfect, and so if it's not going to be perfect, then I'm not going to participate.
Right. So that, thank you for mentioning that too, because I think that all of us, or many of us, suffer from, the whole idea of perfectionism. But perfectionism is nothing more than a word for I'm afraid, but if I have the excuse that it's not perfect, then it's more acceptable to people that I would have stopped because I'm so committed that it's got to be perfect, and if it's not, well, that's sort of, but it's nonsense. It all boils down to the same thing, and it's all fear.
Right.
It's all fear-based.
It's all fear-based. And I'm glad that we actually started off this way. I'm not saying that I'm happy that I was late, but we learned a lot from that. But it feeds into what we were thinking about the show and about us being authentic. I mean, really authentic, and where we wanted to go with the show today, specifically, and then going forward from here.
Yeah.
We call this the Momentum Mindset Show. We're about creating momentum in your life, in our life. Yeah. And that requires conversations about getting stuck.
Yes.
And also things that are a little bit deeper than that. And I want to go there tonight. I want to speak into where I've been for like the last 30 days. For those of you who haven't been following me on Facebook and would like to, I do post every single night. I do write quite a bit. About an hour and a half, I write every single night about
on a mobile phone. This will be your experience. Scroll. No. There's more. Oh no, wait. There's more. And I promise you, though, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to witness. It's I like to make light of it, but it's actually something really profound. And really unique, I would say. I don't think that most people have the courage even to have these internal conversations with themselves, let alone with people on Facebook or thousands of people on Facebook. So.
Right, and as I'm trying to add this thing onto Facebook right now.
Right.
if
A little.
if
I
you
will
could support
assist
me.
you, please.
So I wanted to talk, speak into where I was, for the last 30 days, and I want to go deep about, what happened. For those of you who don't know, I've been on a full life transformation, or what I like to call a life transformation, for the last 315 days today. And what started off as a body transformation turned into me going after all of these goals in my life in many domains in my life. And I went really, really hard and really fast for a very long time. I mean, I set goals where I was getting up at 3:45 in the morning, and I wouldn't go to sleep till about 11:45 midnight, and that was giving me about 4 hours of sleep. And I was reading books, and just to share with the listeners about some of the things I've been doing in my transformational journey. I not only read transformational books. I was in the gym almost 7 days a week with a personal trainer. I we practiced yoga a bit. I tried Reiki. I go to energy work once a week since July. I also do psychotherapy. I also now started breath work. I also journal every single night. I would say that I have probably devoted 5 to 6 hours of my day to transformational work. And going that hard and that fast for that long, my body was exhausted.
Right.
Now, I was starting to go, some of these goals I was going after, one was getting six-pack abs. But ultimately, I wanted to become the most, beautiful human that I possibly could be.
Right.
I mean, I recognized about a month after I started this transformation, I had a breakup. And I'm going to speak authentically about where I'm at always. And I recognized that the way that I showed up in relationship wasn't the way that I wanted to show up in relationship. And it didn't really hit me until there was that breakup. So part of my journey, as those of you know, was also getting the relationship back. So I had physical goals. I had relationship goals. I also had
business
goals to transform my business. And going after all of these things, sometime in the middle of November, I had achieved some of the financial goals. Some of the I bought a new Mercedes. I had gotten the six-pack abs a couple of times. But really, I found myself doing so much.
Right. There was a lot of doing this, right? So if you want to create some magic in your life, there is a lot of doing this, actually. So it's not right or wrong necessarily. But I think that what you're going to speak into that I think is so powerful, and I think we'll probably, take a break soon after, in just a few minutes, but it's the why are you doing it? Right. And are you present to what you're doing it? Because sometimes the doingness is a Band-Aid for something else, right? Like it looks better.
Well, what I really want to speak to, what I'm about to talk about is very important. So if we want to take a break here in a minute, we can. Because I want to really go and because the way that I'm envisioning this show and what we're about and what we're going to do and support people is, this is the start of a brand new year. Yep. And getting clear with what you want to create this year is so important to me. But it's the things that I want to really go after, and I have to check in with myself. Mm-hmm. And I coming out of this last 30 days where I fell into a deep depression, especially during the holidays.
Yeah.
Where my routine was completely off, where I ran into all kinds of conversations, where I'm going to say I was depressed.
Yeah.
I was very depressed, where nothing seemed to make sense, and I felt myself going down a rabbit hole.
Right.
And ultimately, it led me to a place where there was nobody left to impress. In other words, I was doing all of this work, and I'm going to share this now. I was doing all this work to prove something to somebody and it wasn't me. You know, I was doing this to prove this to her. I was doing this to prove this to my parents. I was doing this to prove this to some of my friends. I was doing it to prove to everybody that ever said that I couldn't do something. I had this chip on my shoulder, and this chip on my shoulder didn't just start overnight. It didn't just happen to me, 11 months ago. This chip on my shoulder has been
not new.
It's been with me since I was a kid, and I was doing all of these things. If you told me that I couldn't do something, I would do whatever it took to prove to you that I could do it, even if it cost me pain, it cost me money, it cost me almost my life. And
at any cost, to your own detriment, to prove something to somebody.
And ultimately, when in November, something hit me where I recognized that I wasn't going to get the attaboy that I thought I was going to get. I wasn't going to get the pat on the back that I thought was coming.
In December.
In November to December.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
I want to speak a little bit more into this. You want to take a couple minutes to go into a break, and we'll see you on the
take
other
a
side of
commercial
this.
break and stay tuned because it gets juicy. Come back to us.
Farrow Law Firm. Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help. Reach out to us today and we'll put our 10 years of foreclosure defense experience to work for you. Call us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show. I'm your host, Jay Farrow.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen in or live streaming on Facebook with us.
And before I go back into the story, I just wanted to thank, I don't know if you know this or not, but I was looking on the Momentum Mindset homepage for their Facebook, and we had over 7,000 views.
What? 7 humans decided to watch?
That's what it said. 7,000 views for over the last weekend. We just want to say thank you, whoever out there.
Thank you.
Because I know that we sent this out to a bunch of people, and I know that there's been tremendous support. I've also spoken to some of you personally, and thank you for all the support. And I was just speaking about where I was in where I hit this thing in November and then into December, because on Christmas Eve, we were at a party together, and I left.
Someone was not having fun.
I wasn't, because I was alone. I felt alone, even though I know that I'm not. I mean, but this is how I felt. This is where my feelings took me. And because for the first time in 10 months, I wasn't going from 3:45 in the morning until 11:45 at night, where I was completely distracted. And all of this doing this, I didn't have to think in my feelings. I didn't have to be in my feelings very often.
Right.
Now, I've written about it where I did stay in my feelings a couple of days, and it was uncomfortable as heck. I wanted to crawl out of my skin when I got to stay in my feelings in the pain of a loss of relationship. When I call him my uncle committed suicide in October. I mean, it's just something that I didn't grieve. I just kept going. I kept on doing my daily routine, and in my daily routine and all of the reading and all the work that I was doing and all the journaling, there wasn't there time of me space. And there wasn't a time for me to really connect with why am I doing all of this? Because I thought that I knew what I was doing. I thought that I knew why I was going after all these goals, and ultimately it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. It was for others. It was for me to say, can I do something? Finally in December on Christmas, I went to I almost didn't go to my parents' house or to my brother's house. And I went to a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, and I journaled, and I said, next year it's not going to look like this. And then what I started to do over the last couple of weeks is just to be in this. I mean, just being okay. I'm not in my diet. Yeah. What does it feel like not to judge the heck out of myself for not being and doing all the stuff because I was Mr. Momentum. But who was I? I created a new identity for myself, thinking that I was somebody, and it became an ego trip to be this. I'm always moving, and then my conversation was like, what if they find out that I am not waking up at 3:45? What if they find out that I didn't make my bed today? What if they find out, and I'm thinking to myself, then why am I doing what I'm doing?
Right.
What is it about all of this that makes sense to me? And there's a distinction that I want to speak into, and I want everybody to hear this. There's a distinction between going after something because you think that you can achieve it for your ego, and going after it because it really truly serves your life purpose. I want to say that again because it's important.
Right.
I mean, there's goals that I was going after to feed my ego because this is to see if I could achieve them, but they weren't the mountains that I would select to go after because they're what I want. And that question we started with last week and the week before, what do you want? The universe will always give you what you want,
Right.
only all the
Gaining
time.
clarity.
Well, be careful what you wish for, right?
Yes.
Be careful what you wish for. And ultimately, when I was thinking through all of these feelings and wondering why I'm doing what I'm doing, my heart all of a sudden wasn't in going to the gym anymore. My heart wasn't in eating 7 meals a day anymore. My heart was in writing music.
Yes.
My heart was in journaling every single night. My heart was in connecting to people. And I just got back from New York. I was up in Kingston, New York for a court hearing.
May I interrupt
Sure.
you for a second? So I think what you're speaking into is something really important here because there's a distinction, right, between the doing this for a purpose that really fills you up and lights you up and is authentic to who you really are and your purpose versus the doing this that is a distraction, that is keeping you. It looks better, it's got a much better package, but it's a distraction nonetheless, and it's somehow keeping you disconnected anyway. So I would really like to acknowledge you for even bringing this topic to light because it's really powerful. And we do this a lot, and the ego is a very tricky thing, and it's something that we get to live with and navigate and learn and grow from.
I want to thank you for what you said because when I'm going after something for my ego, there's a hole in my heart that cannot be filled with enough more.
Right.
See, I had a disease of more, and when I was going after something because I have a chip on my shoulder, because I'm angry, ultimately, my goal, ultimately, it could be revenge, resentment,
Right. Or how do you like me now?
or how do you like me now?
We both love that song.
And then-
Thank you, Tippy Keith.
And then when you achieve what you set out to achieve, but your motivation was how do you like me now?
Yeah.
I felt empty. I felt cold. I felt that I was inauthentic.
Right, it's somehow unfulfilling. And Jay and I had a conversation earlier in preparation for this show that this is why sometimes people who achieve incredible amounts of success, material, they've got the girl or the guy or whatever it is that they want, and they've got millions in the bank, and then they lose it. Or they take their own lives. And it doesn't make any sense to us because from the outside looking in, they have everything that anyone could ever want.
Everything.
Except maybe the one thing that actually made any difference to them, that lit them up, that was a connection to themselves, that was a connection to their source and who they really were. Because it's not by accident that people say it's lonely at the top. It's only lonely at the top when you are completely ego-driven. And this is ultimately the danger of living a life like that. And anyone can be in this situation. It's not a judgment at all. It's the opposite. It's an awareness. It's a power. It's like, oh, wow, I am that person. So am I. So are we. So are all of we. And we get to really sort of tap into that and become aware of it because from there we can grow. From there we can really get on fire with what lights us up as people.
When I was up in New York, I had the opportunity to speak to one of my clients who I've been representing for a couple of years, and I actually met him for the very first time in person. And we had a conversation after dinner, and we started to open up to one another about life. And he shared with me that he had a health scare and a near-death experience. And from that experience, he went after life, and then he came across some hurdles. And he said to me, he said that, at some point I just didn't care anymore.
Right.
And I have felt that I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm here at the top, and I ask myself one question: is this all there is? And when I say that, I got to a point in my law practice some years ago where I had enough money to go out to any dinner I wanted to go to any play that I wanted to go to. If I wanted to travel, get on a plane to go to New York, I just went. But I started there's not enough of this to ever make me happy. There's not enough
Right.
of the material stuff to ever make me happy. And when I had gone after all of these goals thinking that I'm Mr. Momentum for 10 months, and then ultimately came to the thought of, again, almost like, is this all there is? It brought me back to what really makes me happy. What do I really want? When I was speaking to this gentleman and we got to speaking, I decided to go deeper with the conversation with him, and I asked him, I said, you know what you need? You need to pick another mountain in your life. You need to pick something else. And his eyes lit up, as did mine.
Right.
Because what I recognize for me is I got to pick the mountain and the reason for climbing it that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And when I really started to go deep about this, I said that the one thing that lights me up, that gets me going, that gets me out of bed at 3:45 in the morning, it's never going to be a Mercedes. It's never going to be a six-pack abs. It's never going to be something that's materialistic or ego-driven, and it's not going to be based on anger, resentment, or jealousy or revenge. My why is to awaken human beings to their possibilities and to support them in getting to what they want.
Right.
And when I'm sitting in my chair in the law office, I recognize that that's exactly what I'm doing, and that's why I love working with clients. And
Right.
I'm sitting there and I'm explaining to them
Right.
what their possibilities are when somebody gets stuck. And like I was speaking to this gentleman, and like I speak to others, and when I'm working in the Momentum Mindset trainings or coaching, is bringing forth that awakening in the human. There's nothing like that for me. I mean, there's nothing like
Right,
that
it's about
feeling.
connection, because you're actually connecting one human being to another, one heart to another. And I'll share with you all too, the gentleman with whom Jay had this interaction in New York. Actually, I've had a fantastic rapport with him for months, because one of the things that I do at the law firm is I am in charge of client services, and this is one of my greatest joys because I am a people person, and this is what lights me up, right? So when I was speaking to him, he said, that single conversation completely changed my mindset, completely changed the tone of what I'm going after. It really helped me to reflect on what it is that I want. It helped me to understand where I had kind of gone off kilter. Jay had recommended a book to him, which, by the way, we would recommend to anybody, which is The Millions Within by David Nagel. And he said that, it was recommended to him on Sunday. By Tuesday, he had already read well into chapter 6. Like, the man was on fire because another human being was present enough to connect with him. And that's really what we do. Like, that's what Momentum Mindset trainings are about. It's connecting to yourself so that you can then connect to others, and you kind of it has that ripple effect. It keeps going and going and going. And really, it's the Momentum Mindset movement.
Well,
It's not new, but it's
a movement.
Yeah, and it has that passion behind it.
It's getting real with what I really want out of life is the most important conversation, because it goes to the most fundamental thing, and it's my love for myself and my own worthiness. Because I get to decide what I really want to go after in my life. I get to decide what my goals are, and I get to do something that I absolutely love.
Right.
And as we're the first couple of shows here, we were starting to talk about a little bit, about us and personal development. But I really wanted to go deep of how profound a conversation this is, because you might be wrong. You might have been going after something and been in a career that you've had for many, many years. I know that I have. And you sit back and what have I been doing? You could have been wrong. And guess what? Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah.
I mean, if that is true for you, it's time to shift. But before, we were talking about last week, and we were talking about New Year's resolutions. Well, anybody can make a resolution because it sounds good. I want to lose weight. I want to make more money. These are the things that I hear normally.
Yeah. This is what we all say. And there's nothing wrong with those goals.
Nothing
by
wrong.
the way. There's nothing wrong with any of it.
But when I ask why,
Right.
it's because their spouse wants them to lose weight, or somebody, or they want the promotion because it looks better. They want the office to look better. And I'm talking about getting real for a little bit and really deciding I'm not talking about the mechanism so much about what you're going after. I'm talking about a core belief. What do you want this year? What do you want to go after? What is your purpose? What is your core purpose on this planet? Mm-hmm. And asking yourself that question and being with it for a little bit.
Yeah. Allowing yourself the space for discovery, because a lot of us, we don't allow that. And we're programmed from very young to want and desire certain things. But we're talking about something a little bit different. And again, the things that we want, there's no judgment on them. They're all important. They're all lovely. They're all amazing. And so is money. So is weight loss. So is optimal health. So is relationships. So is the girl, the boy, the man, whatever it is that you want. What we're talking about, though, is something that's a little bit deeper than that, which is, okay, awesome. Why do you want these things? Are these things actually authentic to you? At the end of the day, when all of the lights and cameras and everything goes away, is this what's going to fill you up? And by the way, checking in with yourself, what's going on in relationship with you? What is your core reason for being? And taking a look at that, because when things get tough, which they invariably will, when we've got the down days, weeks, sometimes months, what is going to pull you through? What is that going to be for you?
And I envisioned, we had talked a lot about the show and what we wanted to do with it, you know,
Yeah.
and the last thing that I ever want to do is be raw, and this is, you know, look at me, can't you do what I'm doing type thing.
Right.
I also wanted to be real with, hey, what's coming up for me? If I had a bad month, you're going to know about it. I mean, we had our accountability meeting today, you and I, and we were talking about, you know, all of the things that happened in the last month. I mean, I shared with you my days that I woke up and I said, it's probably better that I'm not on this planet. And I say that because that way, if I'm saying that to you, it's not a secret that I'm carrying with me.
Right.
And I want everybody to hear
It's very
that
important.
as well, because it's so important. Those secrets that I had carried for many, many years got me very, very sick. And as long as today I'm sharing about them, I wanted this show to be about what is the experience to be like in one of our accountability meetings? How real do we get with one another?
Oh my God.
What do I share with you that because I'm saying these are the things that I want to go after. One of the things that came into our space was the opportunity to do an event in Kingston, New York.
Yes, with this very client who was so moved and touched by
And
just
that-
the attention and presence.
And that goal thought, it was like, wow, that's something where we can start the Momentum program, because this is new for us. I mean, we've been doing this we've been in transformational work for a couple of years. We've both been to many, many days. I mean, I think I've been through now 3 months of personal development trainings. I've seen a lot. I've worked in a lot. But this is new to us. And we're just as excited about going after our goals as I do. But I'm just as emotionally connected to the stuff that didn't serve me as I was a couple of years ago. Things have gotten better. But what we're talking about accountability, we're laying it all out in the line, because
Yeah.
we're talking about creating the life that you want. If we're not accountable to one another and saying what's coming up, that life dies.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of radical honesty. It's a lot of being space for each other to say, like, look, I'm having a really unfulfilling day, or I feel a little lost right now, or things aren't going my way, or things are going my way, right? Because the flip side of that is that there's a lot of celebration, there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of like, oh my God, can you believe we did it? Like, there's all of it. I mean, it's life, it's texture, it's color, it's crazy. But there's always honesty.
So let's take a little break, and when we come back, I want us both to share with the audience about a little bit of my background, your background, and vulnerably share about the stuff that really comes up for us.
Awesome. Yes, stay tuned, everyone.
Farrow Law Firm. Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help. Reach out to us today and we'll put our 10 years of foreclosure defense experience to work for you. Call us at 954-252-9232 9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show. It's Friday afternoon, and this is your host, Jay Farrow.
And your co-host, Janine Davis. And
we want to invite everybody to call into the show with any questions. It's 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. We'd love to hear from you. And we were just about to share about about our journeys and some vulnerable things that have happened to us in the last couple of years. I mean, I've shared multiple times that in November of 2016, I've been in a coma for 5 days. And that was the 9th time I had been in a coma in 8 years for the way that I was abusing my body.
Some of us learn quicker than others, and it's all perfect. No judgment.
I laugh about it now, but I mean, these were some of my wake-up calls, and I know that you wanted to share something about what's happened to you in the last couple of years, because you were there in a lot of the hospitals, watching what was going on. You saved my life the last time. You did.
Well, I want to speak into that for a second, because I never considered that that I saved your life. It's one of those things where sometimes when, I believe we're all spiritual beings, right? So spirit lives within us, and we're about, so that's my belief. On the night that this transpired, certain things had gone on that night, and my humans showed up in a big way, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm done with you. Please. I can't, and for some reason though, I didn't leave the house. I didn't leave. And I wanted, because I wanted you to go to your house, and you didn't. So you ended up staying downstairs, and I was upstairs, and I wanted to leave myself. But there was a whisper and a knock inside of me that said, don't go. You want to go, but don't go. And it was a nagging voice inside of me that said, stay, Janine, stay, no matter what. No matter how angry you are, no matter how annoyed you may be, just stay. Well, the reason I mention that is because we all get these whispers. We all get these little knocks inside internally, and sometimes we don't listen. But on that day, I decided to listen, and thank God I did, because I was able to make the emergency phone call that ultimately, has you sitting here with us today and being able to be sharing your story in service of yourself and others. And this is something that's really powerful. But
I wasn't the only person sick in your life in the last couple of years.
No. So one part of my story, and what Jay is alluding to, and what we spoke about earlier today, that I'd like to share with people, is that in the same year that Jay was sort of in the bloom of his illness and going through a myriad of health problems, I had suddenly lost my ex-husband. I had gotten divorced on January 16th, and my ex-husband died almost 4 weeks to the day that we signed our divorce papers. He died suddenly of acute pneumonia. He was 39 years old, and that plunged me into really a lot of shock and a lot of pain and a lot of unprocessed feelings. I probably still, it's going to be 3 years now in February, I still have a very difficult time processing all of that, because it's so unexpected and so crazy. So here I had a friend who was very, very ill, and all I knew was that I couldn't lose another friend, because even though he was my ex-husband, he was one of the closest people to me in life. And we had, if you can have a storybook divorce, that's what we had. And I appreciated him very, very much. And we always used to joke that when we would get back together in our 70s, because by then he'd be like, his real age would be like 30, and then we'd be more compatible and we would just have a really good time. So, but at any rate, those things were not meant to happen. So people have different ways of coping with things. And so, during this time, the reason I'm even mentioning it is because we all have people in our corners. We all have accountability buddies that we don't even call them that. They're just our friends who hold us in shine. People who love us no matter what. People who are fierce. People who are loyal. People who are love really hard. And I don't have my speeds and the way I'm either warm, warmer, or hot. I don't have anything in between. So, when I love you and you're my friend, there's nothing that I won't do for you. And I have received friendship like that in my life. So that's what I give in return. And that's what I've experienced many times in my life. We have a question in the audience.
Yes, we do.
Please.
This alludes to having friends, and Jay saying something that hits home, because sometimes you still feel you don't have friends. Sometimes these feelings from the past come up, and when you find yourself working or in the middle of your day and she's not around that you can rely or you can express your feelings, what do you do to cope?
That's a good question. I do a lot of writing. I do meditate. I do pray. It's an excellent question, because I have other people in my life that I'm very, very close with. Not as close as Janine, but I do have some male friends that I'm very close with that I will have these kinds of conversations with. But expanding this is such an important point, because it's not just having an accountability buddy. This is why it's so critical to have community. Yeah. To have other people that are going through and up to the same thing that you're going through, such that you can share with them of what's coming up. Right. And it's only when you express a level of vulnerability about what's coming up that somebody else is willing to do it too. And you never know what life you might be saving by asking somebody a deeper question. And that's what comes up for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know for myself, I've always been extremely fortunate to have really beautiful, amazing friends. I have friends from high school. I was with them last night, in fact. Those are relationships that have spanned, 32 years. Just really incredible. And really family. I mean, God, my sister-in-law, just incredible people, friends who have been friends for eons, and having that community and knowing that I can be. But what Jay and I really discovered too, and what I was telling him, that, when you're so close to someone and they're going through their own process, their own transformation, and they're very much in their own growth cycle, and so are you, you realize how many things you have in common, but you also realize what kind of tools you have and what you teach each other, right? So I was saying to Jay, I've never been impressed by things of the ego much. Not because I haven't been an egomaniac myself, but because I learned how empty. I learned a while ago how empty it is. And I also learned a while ago how dangerous it is and how ultimately unfulfilling it is. And looking back on past relationships, it really taught me that I wanted to have a conquest of the ego, not of the heart. And those were fully unfulfilling relationships and really painful relationships. So I've gone through my own growth cycle. But one of the things that I was sharing with Jay today is when I'm in my darkest hour, I always have that little voice where I connect very much to what I seek is within me, because I am connected to my source. And that faith, that deep faith that my mother taught me, may she rest in peace, has always carried me through. And even though my life does not look always the way I want to, vast improvements, things go sideways, that is the one thing I can say with certainty that has carried me through, and carries me through the death of my own mother, who is going to be gone 10 years. And I was telling Jay that is still an incredibly painful experience, which shocks me because it has been a decade. The death of my ex-husband, and losses that you experience throughout life, because life will give and life will take. But what remains is your core belief, the core love, the people around you, family, friends, and really that relationship with your source. People, I call it God, you can call it whatever you want, universe, spirit, whatever you're comfortable with. But to have that and develop that, I would say is really honestly, if I look today, it's the greatest gift that I have, and it's my greatest strength, which is why when life shows up, I get down, but I don't fall. And I do not stay down for the count. I don't.
And one of the things that, and even speaking into Freddie's question also, is what we were thinking about is to make the audience part of our accountability group. I mean, we have a phone number to call, this
Yes,
888-565-1470.
please call in. We'd love to hear from you.
Because what you're hearing us speak and share vulnerably, because we want you to hear what exactly is coming up for us.
Yeah.
You're going to hear about my depression. You're going to hear about my wins. You're going to hear about my darkest reasons why I'm not going to go after my goals. You're going to hear my passion, and you're going to hear my sorrows. One of the reasons why we wanted to share a little bit more about our lives today, because we want you all to hear about us. We want you to connect with us as human beings, and because we want to hear from you on this level.
Because also you may wonder, why do we care? And why are we doing what we're doing? Because we're in it, just like you all are. We're in it, and we want to connect. That is, you all may know that I'm a life coach, and this is honestly my life's work. I found my life's work.
And also I was speaking to somebody the other day, like, well, oh, you're a lawyer, you got your own business, you have a talk show, everything must be going well in your world. They see
And
some
it
pictures.
is. Thank God, there's so many blessings.
I still have the internal conversations about why I'm not enough, why I still have this worthiness conversation and this lovable conversation, which ultimately it comes down for me is this lovability. And I started to do some work recently, and I've actually found this self-love. I started to think about myself and think about my little child and wow, what a beautiful kid. What a beautiful life, what a beautiful man. And not from an egotistical spot, but from I can look at myself and say, I see beauty. But I want to have this level of authenticity as we speak, because this is what this whole program is all about, is I want you to know what's coming up for me as I'm designing the life of my dreams, because I need your support. I got to do this with you, because I can't do this alone.
Right. You've got to do your own work, but you don't have to do it alone. And that's really also the point of the Momentum Mindset show and subsequent program that we're developing, because you don't need to do it on your own. We are better together. We are stronger together. They always say 2 heads are better than 1. It's absolutely true. We collaborate in music, and we collaborate in a lot of different ventures. And it's really cool because you get to see, like, bounce off ideas, and then you get excited, and then synergy, and then someone else can say something that's really ignites you, and you kind of see, like, oh my gosh, this whole thing is connected, and it's exciting and it's fun.
And so we could take one more commercial break.
Yes.
And then on the other side of the break, what I was thinking about doing with us in the audience is go through, what do we want for this year?
Yeah.
Also, make some commitments for the following week, because this is the practice. This is how you create momentum in your life. It's getting clear with what you want, and then writing a few things down that you're willing to do this week to go after them. And over time, small steps, small easy steps, you're going to find that you're going to get the results that you're going after. And we're all here to do it together. So we'll see you right after the break.
Please join us again after the break. Yay, that's awesome.
Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help.
Yeah.
Reach out to us today and work with our
My inner child is
technical
sassy.
defense experience to call us at 954.
Oh my gosh, she has a terrible attitude. She throws tantrums. She's, ornery. Yeah, yours too? I do that too. My inner child does that too.
Mine too. Mine is super bold.
Yeah. She's sassafras.
And to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And we're here on a Friday afternoon with co-host Janine Davis, and we were just about to get into what we're going to create for this year.
Yes.
I wanted to just take a small step back, just to get clear about when I came through this depression in the last couple of days. I did that by connecting to what I really enjoyed, and it was meeting with this client and speaking to him about what was going to happen, what he'd like to create in his life. Mm-hmm. And I connected to that energy, that glow, that inner being said, Jay, that's what you should be doing. Yeah. And with that, the first thing that popped up was to do a weekend seminar in Kingston.
In the Hudson Valley, New York.
Right. So,
but not when it's 12 degrees.
Not when it's 12 degrees. So that's one of the things that we're going to work towards. I know that I'm finishing a book. Mm-hmm. With my Facebook posts, and mm-hmm. over the next 2 months, that will be completed. Yep. That's I do have the goal for making $1 million this year for the law firm. Because
money is energy, and we need lots of energy.
And we have the concept of what we're doing with the Momentum Mindset trainings. Mm-hmm. And I would like to get into a relationship this year.
Me too. And put a ring on it.
I mean, it's just. These are this week. I know that we have a couple of meetings that we're going to be with Coach, and we have decided to go to a financial breakthrough seminar with David
with
Nagel,
the great David Nagel
in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And these are the things that we're looking to do. But what is it? If I were to ask you the same question that I've been asking myself and came to, what do you think that your purpose, if you were to put your purpose together, like as far as when you connect to people, or what lights you up in the morning?
Such a great question. Thank you for asking that, putting me on the spot here on live radio. Well, actually, I do know what my purpose is. I love that quote by Maya Angelou, that people will not remember what you said, but they will remember how you make them feel. And it can sound corny all day long. I really don't care, because that's also what gets to happen when you're in your mid-40s. You care less about certain things or how you're perceived, and you're more authentic to who you really are. I want people to feel like they've had a warm embrace from me long after we have parted. And this is my mark, like to know that they've been seen, that they matter, and that we shared something, and I had the honor to connect with them and just be more of who I am by extension of that warmth.
Now, see, it's so beautiful that you say that, because then you can connect, and this is what I want to make it easy for the audience, because some people can get stuck in just this about, well, what is my purpose and how do I make it happen? Right. Do I do this in the law? Do I do this in my career?
Right.
The answer is you do it everywhere you go. And when I say that, if I'm at Publix and I'm sitting next to, and someone's in line with me at Publix, and I have the opportunity to speak with them about what they're, what do they enjoy, what are their goals, and then I give them a suggestion, pick a mountain or pick a goal, or you might want to talk to this person.
Yeah.
Everywhere that I go, I can live my purpose.
Yeah.
Everything else is mechanism as far as what you're actually up to.
Many roads to Rome. So if you start thinking about how it is that you want to feel on a daily basis, what is it that you want to feel, and then by extension what you'd like others to feel through you, this is something,
right, because some people,
can get on.
We can talk about the New Year's resolutions, and we could talk about health goals, but we're talking about the underlying deeper goal is when do you feel the best when you're doing something for anything? And some people, it could be doing a particular activity. Some people, it could be making people feel like they've had a warm embrace. Me, it's inviting people to their possibilities and awakening their consciousness. But whatever that deeper thing is for you, we find that finding that first, finding that core value, that core purpose first, will then direct everything else that you want to do. Mm-hmm. And like I said, for me, I mean, it was a long road to get to that. How I'm going to share this, it might take you some time, so don't get nervous if you can't figure out what it is that you want. Most people can get stuck in this and go to the defaults of what they thought their parents wanted for them, their spouse wanted for them, what their kids wanted for them. I heard something the other day called parental impress approval. Parental approval syndrome. Have you heard this?
Okay, no, but it would make sense.
But
Say
it's
more.
It's basically an addiction to seeking your parents' approval in everything that you do, even though you're not in their house anymore. You actually have a belief that you're doing something for your parents because you're going to get the attaboy from hey, my dad would have loved to see that. I mean,
Yeah.
And guess what? Have you ever considered, what would this be? What would the result be if I didn't think about what my parents would want from me?
Right.
Because I think there's a little bit of that in all of us. So as we're going
I
through
think
these,
that most adults
Right.
continue to have that.
and we might be, continuing this conversation a little bit, next week. But
Yeah.
I want to say, it's okay not to know. As a matter of fact, if you're in discovery for a period of time, all the better. Because maybe for the very first time of my life, I'm actually deciding what I want as opposed to what I think others would want for me, or how others would approve of me because I went after something. I mean, I've done most of the things in my life for approval or defending myself. And I don't feel like I have to do that anymore. I got to a point in the last couple of days after 11 months of being in discovery of the things that I was going after, that finally there's a space for me to ask questions like this. Finally, there's an opportunity for me to be this vulnerable with everybody. And we just look forward to hearing from you all next week.
Yeah.
Call in, write in. If you want to
2
catch
minutes.
me on Facebook, my Facebook is at @jfarrow. This is the Momentum Mindset Show. So this is on Facebook as well.
Yes.
And they can
Please, we'd love to hear your participation. Listen, Jay and I have infinite amount of things to say, and we could speak ad nauseum, but we would also really love to speak with you. So again, call in at either 888-565-1470 or catch us on Facebook,
Catch
on
us
our
on Facebook.
individual Facebook pages or at the Momentum Mindset Show
And remember,
page.
we are stronger together, and this is a safe space. This is an adult playground. This is what we want to do here. I mean, everything that's happening, everything that we're sharing is to create that space for everybody to feel like they're a little kid again, to have another chance at a happy childhood. Someone told me that the other day.
Yeah.
It's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Agreed. It's never too late for anything if we're intentional.
Like,
Keep going, everyone.
we are stronger together.
1 minute.
Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.
Would you like answers to